What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy. Some. Hit the keys. Here today to do a quick review and demonstration over the Arturia Keystep 25 Mark II. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some of my favorite features, some of the new features, some of the things in it. We'll talk about the board, and I'll give you guys my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Spoiler alert, this thing is dope. It's probably my favorite small keyboard, and I have had a bunch. Like, you know, I have an Arturia Mini Lab. I've had all kinds of Akai keyboards and so on and so forth. But what this keyboard does, it's great for people like me who I don't necessarily play the keys the greatest, just to be honest with you guys, you know. But I have a bunch of synthesizers, or if you like doing electronic music, this keyboard's nice because of all the features and all the functions that it has with the sequencer and the arpeggiator and all that. I believe that the intro price to this is going to be $139. I think it's 119 euro. But let's go ahead and just get right into this keyboard. So when you look at the Keystep, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Hopefully the camera does this thing justice. But you'll see here you have all kinds of different features from sequence to ARP. You can mutate sounds. You've got chords you can mess with. You can set up the length. So we probably need to do that real quick and change the BPM real quick. So bam, you see right here, you can sync your BPM up with your DAW. It's not currently synced for me because I was messing with it with some synths before this video. But let's go ahead and sync it up to what I have here. So we're going to go ahead and sync it to 100 BPM. That's what I have in the DAW. And then what we're gonna do is just kind of go through some of this stuff. So as you see here, this looks a little bit different than the old Keystep, as it doesn't have all the turns and stuff here. You have different controls here than you had in the previous Keystep. So let's just go ahead and start right off. We're gonna start with chords. So with chords, I think chords is a nice feature in this because obviously, so bam. But if I'm hitting a single note, obviously. All right, so we can come over here and we can hold this chord button down, right? Blam. And now it's gonna allow me to go through different chord presets. So I can go through chord presets, whether they're user, whether they're octave, fifths, majors, minors, suspended, two, suspended second, major sevenths, minor seventh, minor ninth, so on and so forth, right? So let's just go ahead and pick just a regular minor chord because that's what I normally mess with. So blow, we got a minor chord right here. All right, and so now we can go into things like spread the chord. So like if I push this, and now we can come over here and we can mess with strum. So strum is a nice feature in this because obviously, as we all know, you don't want your chords to sound like this. You know what I'm saying? You want it to be strummed out to sound a little more realistic. So you can come in here and you can strum by milliseconds, or you can strum by sync, or you can even do a strum type. So let's go ahead and start right here with the strumming. So we can make this, I don't want to go sync. I'd rather go milliseconds. And so we can strum this out. So now I'm strumming. Again, this is first. Now I can change this by milliseconds. Keep turning it up. And then we could keep extending that if we wanted to. So that feature obviously is cool too in itself, but then we can leave it at that. And like, let's say we want to come over here to our voicing. Now we can affect the voicing and how the voicing sounds. So now we can add bass. And, as you guys can hear, that sounds pretty good with the chords. So, you can get in here and start doing all kinds of stuff. We can go back. We're going to go ahead and just leave this on 0. I'm going to take the strumming back just for the rest of this video's, context. So another thing that I really love in this keyboard is the sequence function. So you've got this sequence function over here below. We can tap this sequence function, and now we can start getting sequences. right? And so now every time I hit shift, as you look along the lines here, there's gonna be 16 different patterns that I can pick. So I can hit shift and hit this button down, and now we have a new pattern. So now if I push this one down, so let's go ahead and go through a few of these sequences first, and then we're gonna get to this mutation control, which I know a lot of you guys are gonna love. So then notice with sequence, the difference between sequence and ARP is gonna be whether you have chord on or off, it's still gonna play the sequence. But if you have your ARP feature on, then the chord's gonna matter, and I'll show you guys that a little bit more. But let's go ahead and check out a few more of these sequence and these patterns. So let's see what this one sounds like. Get out the way, get out the way, get out the way, move, get out. No, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and let me get professional again here for a second. All right, so let's go ahead and check out a few more of these ARPs. You'll notice some of the arts give it a little bit different too here. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but on top here, it actually gives you what the ARP's doing. So you see 1, the sequence is going up. You see 2, the sequence is going down, up, down, so on and so forth. And as we get over here, it gets a little bit different because it starts kind of showing you what the pattern's doing. So let's go ahead and hit one of these. All right, so let's go ahead and hit another one. You know what I'm saying? So that's nice. Hit another one. One more. So this is my favorite one, but this is one I've got through mutation, and I'll go through mutations here in a little bit. But I love the way that this sequence came out. You know what I'm saying? So that one came out fire, you know what I'm saying? But when you're messing with these mutations, so let's go ahead and just go to a basic mutation or a basic sequence. So I've got this sequence right here picked up. Let's go to a different one. All right, so I have this sound right here, but if I was to push mutate, it's gonna mutate this sequence for me, and it's gonna change the sequence up for me. I can mutate it again. Mutate it again. But let's go ahead and pick another preset. Now let's mutate that. Mutate it again. So again, you can use this mutate feature to do a whole bunch. Let's go ahead and take that off. We'll take sequence off. Now let's go ahead and take a look here at ARP here for a second. So as I pull up ARP, obviously same thing. If I was to push down a note, if I was to hit the, so I had the chord on you, so you heard how I was getting more notes. It was sounding more like, so if I turn the chord on, it's gonna give me notes and so on and so forth. I can do the same thing with this and tap mutate. That's kind of nice, but I can hit mutate again. So you know what I'm saying? That's cool as you can get different. So you can get different things going with that. All right, so now what I can do is I can take this sound, this ARP that I just made, and then bam. What I did was, since I had it held, I just push shift and hit ARP again, and it's gonna send that ARP to the sequencer. And now I only have to push one button to get that sequence or that ARP. So that's another cool feature too as well with the ARPs. I mean, the ARPs, they're gonna have typical arpeggiator type patterns. So if we were to come over here and check out some of the patterns here in the ARP, let's just pick a few here at random, hold shift, pick a pattern. And again, we can mutate all these. So that's pretty cool with the ARP feature. You know, I'm not gonna go through all the ARPs because obviously there's gonna be a bunch of them. Other things that are cool is I've showed you guys the mutate. I've showed you guys the chords. With the sequencer, you can hold down the sequencer button and it'll give you different patterns and stuff you can go through. So you can actually come through here and you can quantize, you can humanize, you can set the sequence length, you can do the record counting, all that extra stuff, you can do that here. You can also do that with the ARP feature. If you hold down ARP, you can get ARP length, ARP retrigger. And then with chords, you can hold this down, and I showed you all the stuff that we could do with chords earlier. So other things that you can do is you can hit this link button, and this will allow you to do the tempo. The tempo got messed up for whatever reason. It's not that big a deal. You've got this overdub button, and this overdub button will allow you to overdub on top of sequences. I'm not the greatest keyboard player, but just know if you have your press hold down, you could put more notes in with overdub. You've got MIDI channels that you can control, and obviously you play your pause button. So a few more things about this keyboard that are nice is that you have other controls over here that we haven't got to. So yes, all these keys play as keys, but every time you push shift, you see it's got the secondary option of what you can do. And so like with your ARP and your sequence, you can control your time division. You can control the sequence, so you can nudge notes around and change the way that the sequence goes and everything like that. So let's go ahead and we'll start with the ARP. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and push hold, but I'm gonna go through the time divisions and you guys are gonna see what it does. So we're gonna go ahead and just hold this down. So you guys can kind of understand what that does. It's just gonna change the time divisions. Now let's say I get a sequence, right? All right, so now I'm into a sequence, right? And I wanna start nudging stuff. So this is how this sequence sounds originally. Now let's go ahead and shift and let's get this sequence back up. So this is what it's gonna sound like. All right, so now if we decide to nudge this, if I push shift and nudge a couple of notes over, 2 steps right there, it's gonna sound like this. Obviously that sounds off because that pattern doesn't need to be nudged, but then we can just push shift and nudge it back over again, blah, blah, and then, but let's go into ARP mode and see. Oh, I'm sorry, that's just for sequencers, so I don't want to mess that up. But now we have octave controls too that we can mess with. So let's go ahead and shift, and then let's go transpose up. All right, so we can go back down an octave. Whoops, pushing the wrong button here. Let's go back down. And then you have doubles and quantize right here. So basically that doubled it up from 32 steps to 64. You can reload. And then you've got clear and undo. So there's a lot more that you can do with this keyboard. I would definitely recommend you guys checking out Arturia's video because it is packed full of information. But what are my final thoughts on this keyboard? Oh, sorry, I had to cough before I got it out. I'm not cutting that out either. But my final thoughts are, of all of the mini keyboards that I've ever owned in my life, this is probably my favorite. And I'm not saying that, this isn't a sponsored video. Yes, Arturia did send me this keyboard. I've had this keyboard since September, in the middle of September. I'm surprised I didn't leak this keyboard because it's been on my desk for every video that I'm shooting. And so I have a camera that moves 360. I'm surprised I ain't leaked this, like on stream, walking away and it's showing my desk or something, you know? But once I got this keyboard, you know, I have keyboards. I mean, I'm not gonna sit up here and lie. I didn't plan this. This keyboard just typically sits over here, but obviously you guys know I have this right here, this Arturia Keylab Mark, you know what I'm saying, Mark III. Love it, my favorite keyboard. That's my favorite keyboard. I have this FL key over here. I have this Keylab right here. So, I mean, I've used a bunch of keyboards. You guys have seen on this channel, I've had more keyboards than that too. I probably had 12 MIDI keyboards in my life. I don't typically like small MIDI keyboards for this reason. I feel like they always feel cheap. So on my initial impression of this keyboard when I got it, I felt like the keys were just a tad bit more springy than this Mini Lab, which no knock to this Mini Lab, good keyboard too, for the price. Definitely outweighs price to performance. But the keys on this were a little more springy for me, and on a more budget-friendly keyboard, I want my keys to be more springy because they're going to last longer. So every keyboard that I've had that's been under 150, I've just beaten those keys up, and then by the end of the time I have that keyboard, the keys are all, they just don't feel good to play. But I feel like these are never gonna not be springy. So I feel like the keys feel good, the knob feels good, all the stuff is clicky. I mean, all the sequence and the ARP features are dope for a producer at any stage. So they said it's geared for electronic producers and people that need to control stuff, but I think anybody at any stage can use this. I mean, you can't replace the pads, you can't replace the knobs, you can't replace all that because that's not on this keyboard, because that's not the focus of this. But if you are somebody who is, you know, messing with synths and stuff like that, you don't really need pads. You don't really need, you know, any of these controls because you have all those controls in your synthesizer. So I see what they're saying about gearing it up towards synth heads, but I feel like anybody could use this. So, I mean, that's what I got for you guys, you know. Make sure if you guys do like this content, though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time I bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Some, hit the keys.